Gas me up, 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 gas me up. Catch me in New York rocking my goose. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Buckshots from the pump, you better duck, 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 duck. No, I'm really walking by my butt. Straight from the dirt, so he a diamond in the rock. Catch me in New York rocking my goose. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Buckshots from the pump, you better duck, 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 duck. No, I'm really walking by my bucks, by my buck. Straight from the dirt, so he a diamond in the rock.
My name is Anik Sanyal. I am the product of 2 immigrant parents from India. I define myself as an entrepreneur that lives at the intersection of business and culture. I feel like, my job is to create the things that I never saw growing up or the things that I wish existed. And so I take my talents across food.
I threw Kolkata on the lip and said, oh, Kolkata Jack, I heard you. That's exactly where I'm trying to go.
Music and entertainment.
Yeah, me feel good to be an immigrant.
Marketing, real estate, and just try to, shift this kind of generational wealth gap that exists, for Black and brown people.
Straight from the dirt, so he a diamond in the rough.
So I think my first love is marketing and storytelling, branding, bringing ideas to life. So my brother and I started an agency in 2016. For me, I was like, how do we keep this money growing? How do you set things up so you do have a plan B? So took that money and invested into real estate and then started to understand more about real estate. And most recently, restaurateur, I guess. We opened up the cafe restaurant 2 years ago. Again, to me, it's an extension of the story and the brand. And kind of like putting your flag down for your culture. Music, that might actually be my true first love, and so I'm still involved with music, helping artists create brands out of themselves.
Why is Black and brown ownership important to you?
I think Black and brown culture contributes so much to the world in terms of perspective, flavor, food. We contribute so much, but we don't own a lot of it. And I think that that's problematic because, without true ownership, nothing ever changes in terms of the larger power structure. You think about all these buildings, everything that exists here for the most part, it's all owned by people or organizations that look and feel the same. You look at systemic racism in this country, I do believe that if we owned more things, that we would have a different ability to control the conversation. And I say we, I don't want to speak on behalf of Black and brown people at large, but when I think about it, that's how I approach it.
I'm the one who put it on my back though. Money got me coming out the house now. Facts, bro, these is all facts. Big tunes, big checks, big racks, bro. Facts, bro, these is all facts. Who's this, who's that? Shit whack, bro.
I did everything to keep the lights on. I used to work part-time gigs, freelance gigs, marketing, event planning, whatever I had to do, and keep creating, as an artist, as a creative. I started like a little record label and managed like an independent group, and I was rapping and I was making music myself, and I was 22 years old. I had just I was financially hurt. I'd just gone through this breakup with my college girl, and I was so not confused, I was just this can't be life. And there was this opportunity in front of me to get paid to go to Tokyo. As an artist and managing a group, 22 years old, you go live on the other side of the world through your music, through your art, through your creative endeavor. And that validated this whole thing that I had been working for my whole life. It's possible to earn money as a creative. It's possible to live your wildest dreams as a creative. The one thing, when you're a first generation business owner, entrepreneur, hustler, you don't know what's gonna work. And I think that's something that is always on my mind, right? It's how do you take risks, write your story, create with family and generation and longevity in mind, right? How do you build things that don't exist? Given the opportunity, I had to put as many things in place that I could so that if one thing didn't work out, I had a plan B. We don't have a safety net, but we also don't know what's that one thing that's gonna take off.
Queen still under your done no.
This is from my new shit. It's all new shit.
Only doing cash. Fuck a cop, put the product on the dash. Green cards, red dots, black bags. She got a million reasons not to look back. Shorty up.
This for you too? Oh, with the whole woofer?
Artists connect with people in a way that brands don't, in a way that companies don't, in a way that products don't. I think there's so much power in that. That's something that I always want to be involved in because I think that's where you break down a lot of stereotypes, you break down a lot of boundaries and barriers between people and culture, and that's important to me.
My name is Anik Khan. I am Ani's business partner. We've been friends for almost a decade. I met Ani when he was a rapper. Okay, so there's another brown rapper, that's cool. So I was like, yo, let's link, let's talk, let's have a conversation. He slowly started transitioning out of music, started getting into marketing and stuff.
Business.
And I slowly started making my music become a thing. At a certain point, it just became like, oh shit, why don't we merge this shit together and see how we can make this happen.
It's a foreign affair.
They watching regardless, I got it regardless. We pull up, she hopping, I push her buttons to start it. I told her proceed with caution, we don't get exhausted. She love when I rap, but she twerk the melodics. We tell her watch us regardless. We floss it regardless.
Black and brown ownership is extremely important to me because, we were born without any equity, and I cannot even talk about the black plight because that is, without them, not one brown person would even be here to have a conversation about what it would look like to deserve or earn something. I think black and brown people in this new era are tired of bringing in children or living in something where they can't feel like they own. Too many people have conversations about family businesses and it's not in our conversations. Yeah. And because we live in a capitalist country, money is important. Yeah. And so we need to teach ourselves how to make sure we can have money, have equity, and have businesses that are ours, so then we can continue forward and do the best we can with that just being not even a second thought any longer.
Can you speak to you and Ani's experience just navigating the industry?
I think in this culture, in this country especially, when you don't have enough generations here, when you're not instilled here the way other cultures might have been, they pinpoint your nationality first. When I am way more things than just a Bengali rapper.
Of course.
I own a 93 Benz.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I obviously have depth.
Yeah.
One
of the lines that really resonated with me off of Regardless, when you said, I put work in my city, they're trying to make me a tourist.
Yeah.
Can you speak to what that means to you and Ani?
From rodents and roses to go looking gorgeous, I put work in my city, they trying to make me a tourist. I tell her.
I have not been a citizen in this country until a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And I didn't get my green card until I was 15. And I've had legal problems in this country my entire life. I had put so much work in for the city. I've merged and partnered with, Infatuation, which is one of the biggest food publications. They have a festival called EatsCon. I curated 4 different local businesses to be on that stage. How does a guy like Mahmoud, who has his halal truck, compete with Shake Shack or John and Vinny's? He can't. Who's the person who can make that happen? I did Ramadan stuff for the mayor's office. I performed for Bernie in front of the largest projects next to Queensbridge. I'm really putting work in my city.
Everybody should go to Fatima's Hall Kitchen after this. It's on Broadway and 31st Street. If you want some fire fried chicken and shrimp fried rice combo, it's only $8.50.
When I was trying to apply for my visas and try to grow my artistry, I'm getting denied. New York don't want me to grow. And I'm just like, yo, I put so much work in for you. I love you from the bottom of my heart. I do everything for New York. New York is everything. I walk like a New Yorker, I talk like a New Yorker. And I'm not even popping, I'm not even a famous person. I just do this shit off my heart. Put a billboard in Times Square that say, damn, it feels good to be an immigrant, and in Astoria. And y'all can't let me catch this visa? Right. Y'all can't help me attain this citizenship? And that's why I said I put work in my city. They try and make me a tourist. You really want me to leave, huh?
Yeah.
Hip hop culture inspired me so much because there was a bunch of storytellers. Again, when you're a brown kid, there's really no reference point, right? So you look at a Jay-Z being closer to what you represent than, I don't know, Roger Clemens, right? You're just who do I relate to more? I'm trying to tell my story or figure out what my life is about. Hip hop music was that North Star that was nah, you can be yourself, you can tell your story, and you can make money off it. You can turn it into a business if you're smart about it.
Why was it important for you to understand the business side of things?
I remember growing up and always hearing this one thing about if you were gonna be an artist, you had to also decide to be broke in the same vein. This idea that creative people or artists just couldn't earn a living. Your parents are always yeah, just don't, or you're being a musician or you're being a painter or you want to, why? There's no money in that. And I'm always like, how is there something that brings people so much joy and so much energy, but there's no money in it, right? It never made sense to me. So I took notes, like I've been a student for so long, how to turn story into product, into revenue, and it gave me the license to feel like at home somewhere, if that makes sense.
No, I really identify with that heavy. I remember going to school, whatever, and they would mention, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, and while these people do amazing things, it's kind of like hard for me from Brooklyn to like, oh yeah, Bill Gates, yeah, sure,
Right.
I'm gonna be that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Facts.
It's important to see people that look like you in positions of power, that walk and talk like you know what I'm saying? Like when you see that, okay, I can do that.
You see Brooklyn, you see all this imagery, and man, I owe so much to that culture. I think Jay-Z, Rockefeller, that showed me like the blueprint, no pun intended, of like what's possible, like the groundwork, the research, being a sponge. I did so many unpaid internships when I was just shadowing artists or, working with somebody who was showing me the ropes, or, being on the internet, being at the library, being wherever I needed to do to like soak up the game.
Systematic. This is like a bar drink.
So I'm Kamid Chowdhury. I'm from Detroit, and I work with Ani on all the content we create for GRC and Kolkata Chai.
What are we doing today?
Making a mint lemonade.
Oh man.
Just to like recap.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna put the mint inside, put the lemon juice, muddle it all with some sugar.
Okay.
Good?
Go for it. I met the musician that Ani manages, Anik. I met him like a couple years ago in Michigan when he came to perform.
Oh, wow.
And I started following him on Instagram. And then like a year later, I found Ani through Anik. And around that same time, I was kind of like getting tired of like my corporate like PR job in Detroit. And I started watching more of Ani's stuff, and like he kind of spoke to me because like he was like the eldest son like of an immigrant family, and he was like making his own way, which is something that I've always kind of wanted to do, like not really do a traditional like 9-to-5 kind of job. Nothing wrong with that, but I kind of wanted to make my own way. I actually graduated with a film degree. I read something or saw something that he posted like a long time ago, where like how he would like to be approached by somebody that wanted to like work with him.
He was like, yo, I'm in Michigan, I feel stuck, I really like what you're doing, I think you're setting an example, I would just want to come and be a sponge and learn from you. And I was like, man, that's a lot of responsibility, and that's a lot of weight on my shoulders to be like, yo, I can, help, I can show you the world. Like I didn't know if I could, because I got a lot of things going on.
So I kind of just wrote out exactly, and just like speaking like honestly and genuine about like exactly why I wanted to come out. It wasn't for money, it wasn't for a job. It's just like I was trying to do something different.
I'm happy that, I figured out a way to make that work. I invited him on board, and now we're in Bermuda. So make some noise for T, yo.
A lot of the thread that sort of brings Ani's companies together is that idea of black and brown ownership.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you?
I think that's very important to me because for so long, like we haven't really seen that example in like the mainstream of like black and brown people like having ownership or like creating meaningful things.
We had no playbook and we had no blueprint as kids, right? To figure out what we wanted to be, to figure out what fulfillment in life meant for us, right, as human beings, what it meant to respect your parents but also craft your own path. A lot of times growing up poor, you grow up without certain resources and you feel like, damn, like, why is my pops not a doctor, or why don't we grow up a certain way? And I struggled so much with accepting and appreciating my name as a kid because, it got butchered in school and it just made me feel insecure. It was everything that you think it was. It was the Curry jokes, it was the Simpson references, it was just all that. And I think that it made me insecure about my culture at a certain point. It made me like damn, like I wish I just didn't have to, deal with these things. And then you got your family life and you have all these, all these elements. Then who are you when you come from somewhere else but you live and you were born here, right? Like I think it took me a couple instances to realize that I already had everything I needed when I look at my parents for not being traditional. Like they always let me cook, or they just trusted me to make the best decision. My dad was a grad student. I think he used to make like $600 a month total in income, and they have food stamps and they had this little apartment. The lack of things, but the simplicity just in having your family and kind of like going through that together. My brother and I do business together. We have just an implicit understanding that like it's on us to figure it out.
My name is Sanyal. I'm one of the co-founders of Kolkata Chai Co. And Anik Sanyal is my older brother.
Can you just speak to why, what this means to you, this place?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the ultimate of putting your mark on the city, so to speak. As a creative, I've always kind of like struggled to figure out how to make an impact. And it went through all sorts of ways. Like me and Ani independently have tried everything, as I was mentioning, like, you know, our respective music careers and everything. And it was just like, you're trying to find this fit and where you belong creatively and entrepreneurially in the world. And then once we started doing chai, it was just like, we've never seen anything like this before. And it was such a unique time and unique opportunity.
Kolkata chai, come through. Anik hype, please apne khane ashen. Anik beshi hype.
It was just, we had to jump on it. And I'm so glad we did, because now we have a little place.
Kolkata, aka Calcutta city in India. My parents are both from there. I think it's just something that I want to remind everybody of, is like, you know, life is high and low, right? It's all about the highs and lows. I've been at the highest highs and I've seen the lowest lows. And that's why I think today, you know, I'm calm and collected, because I've seen heaven and hell. I was born with a kidney condition. My kidneys had a expiration date. We just didn't know when it was going to be. And the kidney is the only organ that you cannot live without in the human body. I ended up in the hospital, you know, went from touring Japan and India and being the man and learning all this and living my legend to being hooked up to a machine, you know, 3 times a week. And my mom drove me to that dialysis clinic every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was just fighting to get a kidney. And then my dad ended up being the donor, you know, changed my life again. And I think since then, you know, that switch that I had already flipped just went into a different, you know, overdrive. And that's when I started getting serious about making sure that my parents came first, you know, making sure that my work was directly tied to their security. A really big lesson in my life, just to know that life is a gift. You know, the rest of it is just like, it's a nice to have.
It means a lot to them, it means a lot to me. The city itself was always a big point of perspective. I mean, seeing that kind of urban poverty in a third world, and then coming back here in America and having everything, I think it really like redirected Ani and I's lives from a young age, and just understanding what we have and what we come from.
Nothing even compares to the fact that we put the flag down.
So let's bring to 2020, the pandemic. How does that change things going forward?
I think it changed everything. You know, in a matter of hours, everything changed. Had to close the restaurant. You know, we pivoted to e-commerce within about like 2 weeks. Your artist goes from being highly in demand and booked to not doing shows or, you know, even possible to do any of that. The real estate market, you know, turns upside down. Banks stop lending, money dries up. And no brands are launching products or doing events or marketing because they don't know what the future looks like. So everything that I was involved in, as diversified as I had tried to be, everything dried up, you know, pretty much in a matter of weeks. It was a very difficult time as an entrepreneur and as somebody that's so used to like moving around. But I think getting through it, finding a way and turning that negative into a positive, or just finding ways to keep the water on in the drought, you know, like that, I think is giving me a lot of confidence onto what comes next. Because if the pandemic couldn't stop me, I feel like I'm good, you know.
What is happiness to you?
To me, happiness is really rooted in freedom of time and financial freedom. I think if you have the ability to use your time how you want and the ability to spend and take care of people and things how you want, that's the ultimate happiness, you know, and obviously being surrounded by your people through all of that. My full name is Aniruddha. Translates to the one with no obstacles, which is ironic and also divine, I think, in the same way. You know, God gives what he thinks certain people can handle, you know, and I feel like I've definitely been tested.
I like to say that your hustle is not what you do, but why you do it. What's your hustle?
The reason I hustle is to create a foundation and wealth for my family and my friends, and to inspire people that look like me, that come from a similar place, to know that they can do the same thing. And that's definitely my why.
that idea of, oh, he looks like me, I can do it too in the community can be transformational.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like it seems reachable now. It's like, oh, I'm from the same place. I can do that.
Absolutely.
You know? So
what he loves to do is what he's doing now. He found a love in doing that with marketing and real estate and just business on entrepreneurship. Like that shit took over him the way music did, but times 5.
I have a goal of $100 million, you know, that I want to get to in the next 15, 20 years. I might fall short, I might not, but I think part of the joy is in the process of all that, you know. I am a competitive person, you know, and if I want something, I'm gonna go get it. There's no point in holding it in.